of words for that song. So, hey everyone, we wanted to play Van Halen because very sad today, right? Because we learned that Eddie Van Halen passed away, and one of our favorite bands.
Loved Van Halen, loved him. Such an amazing guitar player. Almost made me want to play guitar.
Yeah, almost. Not quite.
But it made me appreciate guitar because his guitar solo on some of those videos were amazing.
And so it was interesting because we were like, which one are we going to play? And we both like Panama. So, but they're all good. Jump and Hot for Teacher. And
that was a good one too.
Yeah.
Oh, should have done that one. That'll be next week.
Yeah. So it was great. And a cheers to Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie.
Thanks for all the music. Now down to business.
So happy Friday. How was your week?
It was busy.
Yeah?
It was busy. Busy week. I hope everyone else had a busy week too. For those of you in Toronto, we ended off on a kind of bad note today.
It was a weird note. Yeah.
They closed everything again.
So, for those of you outside of Canada or outside of Ontario, I don't know exactly what's going on in every region, but here in Ontario, Toronto, Peel, which is basically Mississauga, and Ottawa.
Yeah.
Basically sort of a 28-day shutdown.
Which is probably short because they'll probably shut down longer, which means you can't eat in restaurants.
Yeah.
Gyms. Which means that you have lots of time to come watch us.
On a Friday night.
Good.
Because you're not going out to eat anywhere.
No. So I think it doesn't happen until Monday probably, right?
You know what? I didn't notice.
I don't know.
I thought it was effective immediately.
I don't even know. What if you don't know if you don't know this news yet, then you know now. And so go grab your wine and sit down with us because you're not going anywhere.
Exactly. That's okay. Takeout is still there in all the restaurants. Yeah. You know what? It was interesting because there's a whole push. I was talking to somebody this week about online workouts, and there is lots of online workouts. And I know, I think you had recommended Peloton at one point.
Yeah, which is great.
I loved it.
And cheap.
Very. But it was interesting to learn, all the different things that you can do online. And what I liked was you can join classes and all of that kind of stuff. So sort of that pros and cons, as I take my glasses off, online, in person, all of that kind of stuff. So interesting.
Yeah. Lots of things to do and lots of time to spend, as I said, watching us. And so the truth is that this is the best time possible for you guys to really hone up on your online skills and get out there and launch your businesses or your interests or passions, whatever you have online. Learn that new skill, learn how to speak on camera, do some videos. Now is the time. So here's the thing. In Toronto, we are closed basically. We figure it's going to be closed through Christmas.
I'm sure.
So there's a lot of different places throughout North America, Europe, and Asia that have the same issue. Right? Maybe, the U.S. are a little bit not as structured in closing, but there are going to be a lot of more people staying home. And apparently, like from November 15th to January 15th, I've heard is like the best time ever this year to sell your programs online.
Which is I find that interesting just from a timing perspective.
Yeah.
Because if you look at, you look at Canada, and, we're celebrating Thanksgiving this weekend.
Yay.
And we really don't have anything until Christmas. Well, we have that weird Boxing Day thing that no one seems to be able to understand.
Yeah.
And then we also have the U.S., who is our close neighbor. And they really kick into high gear right at the end of November with Thanksgiving, Black Friday. And then they continue on the celebration all the way through Christmas. So I'm surprised by that.
Well, I think a couple things. One is that most people now are staying home. So, and some people aren't traveling at all and therefore cannot get Christmas gifts. And what a great thing to do is to buy somebody else a program or something online, right? Mm-hmm. Buy them a subscription to something. It's a great present because, they don't need something. I usually give out a ton of restaurant gift cards.
Yeah.
To my kids. Guess what? They're not getting restaurant gift cards this year. They can do takeout, but it's not the same, right? So it's a great opportunity. The other thing too is, nod to our U.S. neighbors they got a lot of crap going on right now with the election. And so who knows how people are going to feel. I'm not saying which side, but I'm saying like somebody's not going to be happy. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. And I think online, it's this great little unique community, right?
Yeah.
And, if you're don't have anyone to hang out with on a Friday night, you can hang out with us, right? And so it's a time for, I think, a lot of people to say, okay, we're not going to go out for Christmas. We're not doing a big thing. We're not doing anything elaborate. Maybe I'll buy a present for myself and learn how to do something that might take me through next year, because you have to remember that next year, a lot of people aren't going to have their jobs back. Nope. And it's not going to be the same world. And maybe it's time to learn a new skill. So maybe it's time to take a new course, or to offer a course if you are capable of teaching, and then learn how to actually offer that out. So I think it's a great time for people in the next couple months, as hard as it is, and how everyone's kind of feeling a little down. You have to start going, okay, what can I look to do?
Well, it's interesting. So this week, so my husband's company, typically if he makes his targets, they send us on a trip. Well, obviously this year it didn't happen, so they gave us gifts instead, which is awesome. But one of the gifts was a subscription to an online sort of platform that had a lot of different courses on it. And typically I don't think they would have thought about doing that.
No, never.
But like all of a sudden you've got that influx of corporations, employees, and stuff like that are also spending time at home.
Yep.
So they're all really excited about the possibility of learning all of these different things. And I think the platform has all kinds of different categories and stuff like that. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but they have all these different opportunities to learn online. And like all kinds of people are messaging and going, oh, this is all exciting. We can learn online, because that's not a typical environment for them.
No.
So I think there's a huge opportunity as well to not only reach people who are, sort of entrepreneurs or online marketers, but employees of companies that are also spending time at home, to teach them something that they can gain value from. So I think it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, and I think people are not really, like now you have a little bit of time to investigate, right? Mm-hmm. So take a look and sit back and go, what do I really want to do? And look at the opportunities you have in front of you. And it's just like, even like fitness and that you talked about Peloton. I always thought Peloton was a bike. I didn't know.
I really thought it was a bike, and a bike only.
Yeah. And so the girl who does my hair, my naturally blonde hair, the girl who does my hair, she actually does
3-hour tour. Oh my God, now I have Gilligan in my head. Sorry.
So she actually does. She was telling me about it because she just uses her regular spin bike, but she said there's all these other classes. So I downloaded the app, and what I found was, because they had it free for a while, mm-hmm. right? And there's everything. There's yoga, and there's classes that you can do for your treadmill, and there's like, weights and all this stuff. And then I gave it to my kid, and he like loves it because mm-hmm. You can mix and match, and there's all different kinds of music.
Well, what I like is that you can, and this is not a commercial for Peloton by any stretch.
No affiliate
at all. I don't even know the link to it. But what I liked was the fact that you can go, oh, there's a class that's going on now.
Yeah.
Class. I think one of the ones that I was doing, especially in the spring, was stretch.
Yeah.
Like they were just like 30-minute stretch classes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
and
this
you can
is
do them live, or you can. So we're not trying to. What we're saying is
the whole point
that I think you're not like, you have to really investigate what's out there, because I don't think some people really know. We're very well versed in online, and we didn't even know, right?
Yeah.
No idea. There's lots of things that you can do and learn, and propel yourself. If you're worried about where your job's going to be in the next year, it's a great opportunity for you.
So what about somebody who's like, okay, they want to do an online course, but they kind of have to talk to people?
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is they don't have to talk. So we're not talking to people. We can pretend there's people out there. We're talking to our computer, and that's where the fear comes in. It's just technology. It's just a computer. Computer's not going to bite you. No. You're not going to die. You can leave us negative comments. We won't care.
We don't care. You can tell us how nice our set is, though.
So we're not backwards.
No.
On this. Now I have to go over to Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, the only reason I looked at that, because earlier we were on a video conference with somebody, and it was backwards, and it was irritating me.
Yeah.
Anyway, side note. What do they do to get over that fear? Let's back that question up. Why is public speaking the most feared thing in the world?
I think because for me personally, I think it's just because of how you were raised and your mother was raised and her mother's mother was raised.
So it goes back to the.
It's everyone. There was a start that people were fearful of getting out in front of crowds and talking their whatever their message was, right? And I think that's transpired through the years, is carried through, and now people are just thinking, oh, public speaking, and they get scared. And if it was seen differently, and I think I talked about it a little bit on Monday, but if it was perceived differently, that's this is a great opportunity to get your message out, right? Then people would be excited about talking and getting your message out. We like getting on camera. We like to speak, if you haven't noticed that. And but it is an acquired, it's acquired taste. You have to kind of let go of your fears. And we talked, you a couple of years ago weren't talking at all, right?
Well, actually, it was 6 years ago. It came up on my phone. The first One Red Lipstick.
There you go.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness, I remember that. I literally think that I finished speaking. I sat down for a second. I downed my glass of wine. But actually before that, my friend, I think it was back in, I want to say like 97, long time ago, back when, there was dinosaurs running around.
Yeah. But Van Halen was there too.
Yeah, but not playing at this wedding. And she wanted me to speak. So I said, well, so I'm just going to tell you a bad story of what not to do, because this did not end well. Spoiler alert. I was so nervous. I literally said, okay, I will speak but I need like 4 shots beforehand. And this is not professional, but this is reality of how terrified I was. And this was literally like, it was a room full of people, but I didn't know them. They were strangers. Yeah. It didn't matter what was going to happen. So I had a little bit too much to drink beforehand, because I was trying to settle my nerves. Unfortunately, when you go to settle your nerves, it goes a little bit too far, and I may or may not have made a fool of myself. But in funny story, I actually got up and sang with the band.
You did?
Yeah.
I couldn't even get you to sing on my podcast.
That's what alcohol do. So bad
so I
story.
just had to feed you up. Okay.
But the whole point is, I know, but from a professional standpoint, is that I was terrified, and I don't know, and that's why I wanted to ask the question, because I don't know what I was terrified of. I don't know what I thought would happen. I was just literally terrified to go up there and speak in front of people.
It comes back to how horribly speaking is taught in public school and elementary school. It is. It's taught horribly, because they push this fear into you, and they grade you on a ridiculous criteria that I don't agree with. So if any of you teachers are going to argue with me, come on over, because it is ridiculous. Because I remember my kid had to do it, and I don't agree with anything he was taught. Like it was so 1920s that it was just ridiculous. So if you walk into learning how to speak as joyous and an opportunity for you to share whatever your opinion is, then you would be excited about having the opportunity to speak. But I think, unfortunately, elementary school and parents beat it into our heads that somehow this was a bad thing to do. So I don't believe that you're born with a fear of speaking.
And then Debbie's pointing out that sometimes fear comes from if somebody's made fun of you when you've spoken in front of somebody, because then, of course, you would completely shut down and never want to do that again.
Agreed.
So again, I think what you're saying is that bad experience, but that bad experience can actually be before you've even spoken.
Before you've spoken. Like I was an absolute wreck in elementary school, and I couldn't go to my parents because they didn't really speak English. They were immigrants. And they never couldn't help me with homework and that. And I had nobody to actually help me with it. So I was kind of flying as I could. But I remember being sick all the time. I would try to get out of it because I was so nervous. And I think back now, and I'm like, why was I nervous? And I can't really come up with anything other than what I was taught, which is you better do this, and you better start with your topic and then your subtopic. And it was so stupid because people don't talk like that, right? And so it was such a bad way of teaching people that they got scared.
Yeah.
So my kids, as I said on Monday, never taught them that. I told them the complete opposite. I I teach this for a living. I taught them my strategies. My kids are really great speakers, and that's what I push everyone to do, to encourage them to do that with their kids. But saying that, I don't want you to go encourage your kids about how great it is, and then you turn around and you're too afraid to speak.
Exactly.
Right?
But one really good thing happened this week.
Yeah.
One of the posts that I put out, which was something similar to that you put out, was your voice has power, and your voice can have major impact. And it's a girl that sort of I know through her kids and my kids that go to school together, and she's starting her own business. And she called me and she's like, oh my goodness, that gave me the confidence to realize, yes, my voice does have power. My voice can have impact. How do I make this happen?
Yeah.
And I started having a really good conversation with her. So I think sometimes it's just taking somebody to say, you can do it.
Yeah.
And that you're not going to be made fun of or shoot off the stage or whatever's
well, I think what
happen.
It comes down to is like, it's always the same thing. If you know your stuff, if you know your material or what you're going to speak about, and if you're speaking about yourself, you should know your material. But if you
I didn't know my friend very well.
But if it's true, if you know your stuff, then there's nothing to be afraid of. The only time you're fearful is if you don't know it. So if you're trying to, that's why, when I teach speaking, I teach no memorization, because if you're trying to memorize, you are so focused on memorizing that you get nervous, right? Rather than just speaking. So it is like, it's such a great opportunity. I always say, speaking is power. That's it. Speaking is power, because if you can go ahead and speak out loud and share your ideas and your knowledge and your expertise, that will take you fairly, a significant way. It also happens in, daily life. I mean, I'm not afraid to say or talk to anyone. So if there is any issues that happens with any company, I pick up the phone and I call the CEO. I don't start at customer service. No. I call the CEO's office, and I usually get the assistant, and then she eventually puts me through or fixes my problem. And the difference is I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to speak. I'm not afraid to make a complaint, right? Because here, that's the other issue. People are afraid to complain because what do they think? They're going to get backlash, right?
Well, I think that's the whole concept in general of that fear. And I know we're talking a lot about fear, but it is one of the biggest fears.
Yeah.
Is speaking isn't necessarily to a group.
Right.
And I think that's the misconception, is that you think, okay, well, if I go to speaker training, then I'm going to be speaking to hundreds of people. But actually, it applies to a one-on-one conversation, because you have to have your point succinct if you're trying to understand or helping somebody understand your point of view.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just to a smaller, even a networking group online, where maybe there's, whatever amount of people on the screen, but you need to introduce yourself and talk about what you do and all of that kind of stuff. So speaking is, again, whether it's advocating for yourself, advocating for a family member, helping a friend, or bringing it into the business perspective, where sometimes the advocacy comes from the fact that you just need to explain what you do in a really good way.
Yeah. I always say, so for those of you who are parents, if your child was sick, you would say or do anything you had to make sure your kid was okay. So you would go knock on the CEO's door, scream at everyone you have to scream at, no matter what it would take. You all of a sudden would not be afraid to talk to anyone ever, right? So I want you to take that and now think about yourself. So you would be willing to do it for your child, but then when it comes to you and talking about what you believe and what your stances are on things, all of a sudden you get a little timid. So most of us have the ability to speak. We just need to understand that we can do it for ourselves as well, right?
And somehow that becomes the problem, because you're right. Advocating for your child, if they were in the hospital, you'd be finding, okay, who's the top surgeon in the country, in the world?
Yeah, I'm calling them.
Give me a name. Give me a number. I'll get them on the phone. And you would be screaming from the rooftops, and you would use your voice.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when we're talking about ourselves or our business or something like that, we start to get small.
Yeah.
And we don't want to
talk about
offend anybody. You don't want to say anything wrong. What if somebody, boos you? And it's like, well, so if it was the surgeon, you'd be like, get in here. And, you would use your voice and you would find it.
So I remember, so when my husband, when he had his brainstem stroke, and we were up north at a very small hospital, and we were in ICU, and I was told that night, not to, put a damper on this, but I was told he wasn't going to make it through the night. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking to the ICU doctor, and their MRI was down. It was broken.
Oh.
And I was like that doesn't make any sense. So you can't tell me if his MRI. He goes, well, we can give him a CT, but that's the best we can. I go get him a CT. So he gave him a CT, and he said like what was wrong with the bleed and everything. And I said, okay, what do we have to do next? He's like, well, we have to have the guys in St. Mike's hospital in Toronto review it. Well, how's that going to happen? Right. And he's like, well, it'll go through the process. It's 3 or 4 days to get it down there. And I'm like, oh, no. 3 or 4 days. Like, he's not going to make it through the night. You need to send it tonight. And this is the ICU doctor. And I said, so put it in a taxi cab and send the scans down. And he's like, what? And I said, put it in a taxi. And it's like, it's a 2-hour drive, but put it in a taxi and send it down. And he's like, no one's ever asked me to do that. And I go, well, I am. And he did. He did.
That's awesome.
And he put it in there, and they read it, and then they accepted him to come down. But I mean, if you don't ask, if you're too shy, he's just a doctor. That's a job. Okay. It is not any different than anyone else's job. He happens to be a doctor. You might happen to be, a yoga teacher. It doesn't matter. It's his job. So you need to make sure that you're forceful. So if you're used to using your voice, then you're used to using it everywhere. And that's the same in business.
Yeah. Well, my dad always used to say that. Everyone has different jobs.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that's going to happen if you ask is that they're going to say no.
Right.
And you're no further ahead.
Right.
But guess what? They might say yes. They might actually put it in a taxi and go, oh, no one's ever asked us that before.
Right. So you have to feel the same way about your business, right? You have to advocate for your business. So some of you, might be launching products, and you're launching the product, but you're not asking for a sale because you're too shy, right? You're like, oh, well, I just wrote it in my little Instagram post or something. No.
Shh, don't tell anybody. But if you go on Instagram, there's a link, but it's in the bio. Shh.
So
I don't really want to sell anything. People.
So when we launch a product, you guys, we launch the next product. I'm going to tell all you guys on Mastermind City. I'm going to say, hey guys, we got a new product. Can you tell everybody? Because it's amazing. Not only do we want you to buy it, we want everybody to buy it, right? Is there something wrong with that?
You know what might happen? Newsflash, spoiler alert, somebody might buy it.
Yeah.
What a concept.
So don't be afraid to ask. I'm still shocked in all the years that I've been coaching, and it's been a long time.
Back in the dinosaurs.
Yeah, in all the years, this is the truth, okay? This is the truth.
Drum roll.
And you will know, not one person has ever asked me to be an affiliate.
Really?
Yeah, all of the people I've coached.
Are you serious?
Think about it. Do you know anyone that I've coached that never asked me?
Wow.
Yeah. Not one person. I've got a huge list. And not one person has ever asked me today to be an affiliate.
Really?
And I have asked them.
I'm shocked. I am literally in shock here. Most of the things she tells me I know already.
And I've offered.
Wow.
So everyone that coaches with me, everyone's in my mastermind, I always say, go ahead and ask. And not one person has ever asked me to be an affiliate. Because why? Because they're scared.
They think you'll say no.
They'll think I'm saying no. So if I say
who
no,
cares?
I would just say, if I don't think it's a product that works, then I would say, I don't know. I don't think my list is right for you, but I'd be happy to post. Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes if it does, I know my list. So if I know they wouldn't buy, I wouldn't send it. But don't forget, I have several lists. I owned a health and wellness yoga studio. That's a separate list. I have a business list. That's a separate list, right?
Wow.
I have so many people that went through my mastermind. You might know a few that never asked me to be an affiliate.
Never.
No.
Wow. Well, it's kind of like when you watch like Dragon's Den or Shark Tank. Like I like both of those shows. And I think it's interesting because sometimes they'll just say, you know what? I don't think this is right for me and my collection of businesses
Yeah,
that I've already
agreed.
invested in and stuff like that. So it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
That's not offensive.
No, I would tell you, and I would say, I would absolutely, though, I would still post and say, here's one of my clients, right? Here's someone I coach with. Here's somebody that's in my mastermind group. Guys, if you need this product, check it out.
I'm speechless.
So
wow.
So what I'm saying
Not
is,
one
you
person.
can, if you're afraid to ask, you're not going anywhere. You have to be out there. You have to open your mouth
Fascinating.
and ask questions and get your business out there. If somebody says, do you want to be on my podcast tomorrow? You're going to say yes. Do you need the questions in advance? No. Because you know your stuff. Okay. Yeah. Please, if you are anyone that I've trained, you will never ask for questions in advance, because I would be embarrassed to say that you trained under me.
Right. Oh, I actually took it one step further. So on my podcast, I don't deliver questions.
Yeah.
And I actually had somebody, I don't know if I've told the story before, so apologize if I have, but I actually had someone pull out and say that they would not be my guest because I would not supply them with questions that they could pre-write the answers to, that they could read on the show.
Yeah.
What? You're missing that opportunity? You're saying no because I'm not giving you questions, but I want it to be a conversation. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, shocking.
Like, if you guys need to know questions, you don't know your stuff. You don't know yourself. So, you know what? Say no to the opportunity. If you think you need questions, then you should not be on that show. Yeah, so when so even like, we put you guys on the spot, a few of you on hot seats, and you jumped in, right? You guys jumped right in. That's what we wanted to see. You didn't know what we were going to ask you. You didn't know what we're going to say. That is what makes the difference between somebody who's going to be successful or not, because you're not afraid, right? So
say yes to an opportunity and figure it out during the conversation.
Exactly. And if you are afraid, then just tell yourself, I know I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because if somebody asks you a question, they'll say, hey, Stacy, what's the square root of whatever? And what would you say?
Hey, Siri, what's the square root of 4?
So, like, you have to.
The square root of 4 is 2.
2. There you go.
Siri. Hey, Siri, who's going to win the election?
Hey, Siri, who's going to win the election?
Okay, I found this on the web.
Siri doesn't want to answer.
The point is, if you can't answer the question on the podcast, on the tape, on the radio, whatever it is, you say, I have no idea. Do you want me to figure it out for you? That's it. I have no idea.
So your magic 3 words is in my opinion.
In my opinion.
Mine is I don't know. And you are allowed to say I don't know.
You're allowed.
I would prefer you to say I don't know than make something up and sound very confident about it and sell me on the fact that you are right, and then I go home and I'm like, no, they weren't.
No. And a lot of people teach you, I'm trying not to diss, but a lot of people say you're supposed to say that's a good question. I don't like that, because that's a good question doesn't mean anything.
Sometimes it's not a good question.
It's not good. So know your stuff. Right? Open your mouth, start talking out loud, talk to yourself, talk around the house, make sure you start getting used to your
If your family
voice.
thinks you're crazy, that's okay.
It's okay. Because then they'll start doing it too. And I'm going to tell you, the best thing you can do for your kids is to have them enjoy public speaking and not get them scared. Right. So mine all think when they get a public when they have to do speeches or speaking at all, they all think it's like, oh, cool. It's an automatic, really great mark.
That's on mine too.
Because they're good at it. Right. Because they don't get scared. So, that's how you have to think to yourself. And, don't get us wrong. She already told you how shy she was. Right. And didn't want to speak out loud. I was painfully shy as a child. Didn't speak at all.
Oh, yeah. Do they know this story? The principal called your parents?
Yeah. So when I was in elementary school, I didn't speak at all. And my parents got pulled into the elementary school by the principal because they thought I was being abused because I never spoke. And
I'm sorry. If you guys are all still standing over that one, like that one just blows my mind.
And I didn't speak through high school, and I didn't even speak through college, to be honest. I never spoke. I just if I was asked, I would speak, but it just wasn't my thing. And then I got a job at a school in sales, and guess what? I had no choice. I had to speak. I had to speak. So when it's on the line and you have to, it's amazing. Like when you're advocating for a child, you can do it. So you can. So anyone that says, "Oh, I can't public speak," I know they're lying, because they have. And the fact for you to say I can't public speak in a group means that you actually can speak.
Because you've said you can't do something.
There you go.
Which is speaking and advocating for the fact that maybe it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah. So don't worry about it. Don't, just go out and do it. That's the fun part.
Use the Nike term. Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. So we got any questions, or are we good?
We don't. I think this
questions.
one is very, it's one of those interesting topics this week where it's a very large topic to do it well.
Yeah.
But it's also a simple one where you can just say, just start.
Just start.
Press record. Know what you're going to say, please. We're going to talk about that the next couple of weeks about planning.
Yeah.
Please know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
I don't want a script, but at least know what you're going to talk about. And, I'll talk about this in a couple of weeks as well. We've talked about live streaming before, but don't live and drink. So take my example of I needed lots to drink before I could actually speak. Unfortunately, that turned out very badly, and I made a little bit of a fool of myself.
Yeah. This is just grape juice.
So funny. Going back to that story, it was on VHS tape, but then they got divorced. Yay, because the tape got destroyed.
Ah, that's too bad. I remember, in my wedding, I was going to speak. And then I remember somebody said to me, "Well, brides don't make speeches." And then I just didn't do it.
Really?
Yeah, I remember
Oh,
them
that's
saying that
interesting.
to me. And I was like, well, that's weird. But I never really thought about it. But now think about it. How many brides do you know that have spoken at their wedding? Not many.
I did.
Oh, well. Not many, though, right? Anyway.
That's just because, I'm sorry, it's my day and all about
Yeah.
me, and I'm going to grab the mic. Didn't speak for long
Right.
because I was still very, very nervous
Yeah.
at that point.
But I remember, just to leave you guys, just a couple of years ago, I guess maybe, I don't know how many, 3 or something, at the cottage up north, where we have a cottage, they had a Gordo Day for Gord because, he's been ill. And the beach community, we had this big outdoor thing that was put on by a lovely couple at Thunder Beach. And I was at ball hockey that day with Gray. So I was late. And so I ran up and then I grabbed the mic and I went up and because they were, they're doing MC stuff. And I ran up and I started speaking and, making my stupid flippant jokes that I always make. And I remember then I went back. And nobody really up there knew me that well. Everyone knew Gord, not me. And then I remember somebody come up to me and they go, "I didn't realize how funny you were." And I was like,
Yay!
And they're like, "And you speak so well." And I go, "That's what I do. I teach." And it was fascinating to me because I hadn't spoken in that community. So nobody knew me
Right.
as a speaker. So it's amazing what you think, people's perception is. They don't really know unless you're out there putting yourself out there. So, if you have an opportunity, then grab it because life is short.
And on that note, have a great weekend.
Yeah.